Good evening. Welcome to Good Guys Sports. I'm Jackson Gerke alongside with Blake Weinberger with our co-host Mike Roby, Blake Weinberger, and two Blakes. We will talk about sports with the craziness of college football and the NFL in a second. But I want to first say and ask you guys about what you guys did over the Thanksgiving holiday during during our absence from last week. So I will do that in a second. But first, let me introduce to Blake Weinberger. This is Ann. She is Steve's wife, and who I've had before on the show. And Blake, please welcome Blake Weinberger. It's great to have you on, Ann. This is the first time you will be able to speak with Blake Weinberger, and he can ask you anything sports related. But but in all seriousness, it's great to and with that, it's great to have you on, and Blake. It's really nice to get to know her and about her, and really get to know her as a person. Great to have you on, and Blake, great to have
Thanks
you
for
on.
having me.
Absolutely.
Jackson, I believe. Could we hear her in the background last time? I think she had a lot of good sports takes. I think we could hear her in the background when Steve was on, right? Am I remembering that right? New England area?
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
Yep. That's
I can't remember if she was a big Belichick and Tom Brady fan or not.
Oh, big Tom Brady fan, and Belichick has to go.
Okay, that's right. Okay.
we'll get that in a second. But
we don't want them in for the Commanders.
Oh, I was just going to give him to you too.
No, maybe
Okay.
maybe go down to Charlotte and help the Panthers out.
Yeah.
We'll take anything. We'll take them.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a second. But first, I want to ask everybody what they did on Thanksgiving. And I want to start with you because I know that I missed you guys on our annual FaceTime tradition this year. What's been going on with that? I mean, I feel like you guys were doing something else, had something going on. Why?
Well, it was kind of lonely, Jack. We were just we had a nice Thanksgiving, but it was just Steve and David, our son, and we were missing the old traditional get-togethers with all the Gerkies. So we have to get that back into play.
Well, I hope you guys join us on Christmas like you do every year. That just makes us happy, and
Yes,
same with more important. And I really and that would really make our lives happy and really put a smile on our face.
absolutely.
Jackson, we had a good
I agree.
Thanksgiving with we got to see Caroline come to town, and the five of us had a great nice meal that we all helped to cook, right? So it was a good nice relaxing Thanksgiving for us, right?
That's right.
What about Uncle Mike? How was your Thanksgiving?
Oh, we had a great time. We had 17 people over.
Nice.
And so we had cooked a ham and a 22.5-pound turkey and
Wow.
and a plant-based roast and tons of casseroles. We had a whole refrigerator full. And had two of the grandkids over, and we just had a great time.
Yeah, that's very nice.
Yeah.
I made sweet potato biscuits.
Ooh. Oh, look who's in it.
Yeah.
Hey,
to another
Just when you thought it was safe.
Now, are you in the basement now?
I'm actually upstairs.
All right.
I'm over the garage.
All right. The frog.
Exactly.
Yeah.
kind of like what I'm in right now, except I'm in my own personal sports studio. So there's a difference. Just get used to that.
I like it.
Jack, should we ask what Blake Limburger did for Thanksgiving?
Yeah. So Blake, what you guys? Yeah. So Blake, Limburger. Let me ask you, what did you guys end up doing for Thanksgiving?
Jackson, I thought you would never ask. Listen,
Oh,
it was an it was a great Thanksgiving, and the highlight of it all was I had a perfectly spiraled punt, and it landed to the top of a tree about 50 feet up. So we spent 2 hours throwing baseballs, softballs, and golf balls at the football. And after about 2.5 hours and 3 contacts, it fell out. We had a great time, great deviled eggs, and I want to get Uncle Mike's recipe for the plant-based roast. I would love for him to fax that to me, Blake at goodgodsports.com.
All right. It's called Whole Foods.
Very simple.
And before I move on, let me just say this about. So I was texting with Steve about a couple weeks ago before Thanksgiving, and I was sharing those pictures of this this world famous recipe, Uncle Mike's pie, which I have a feeling it tastes yummy, but I have a feeling I had a feeling that it was that it was probably gone in seconds, and it didn't survive long. So that I mean after getting a text and receiving the picture and looking at it, I just thought, man, that looks good, delicious. And I wish Uncle Steve had that, or any of us in our household families had it, because if the Sparrow family had it, or any of my dad's side family were to have this, they would love it too, because it just tastes delicious. But I don't think Uncle Mike just had enough time to make an extra pie, but it looked good. I really would enjoy it. It was just delicious, and it tastes very good. I wish I had some.
The apple pie didn't last long at all.
Oh,
You don't get one. You only get a piece. After that, it was gone. I mean, it's scarfed up.
nice.
We'll make one next year, Jack.
You know what? Even better. Why don't we send it over to their house, and they can enjoy this next year.
There you go. Pies for
Yeah.
everyone.
Exactly. No.
Eyes for everybody. I love it.
What's our first sports topic today,
All right,
Jackson?
let's get right to the
Enough of this pie chat.
let's get right to sports now. So we will talk some NFL and college football for our first 2 topics, but we are going to start off with the game, Michigan, Ohio State. Michigan won their 3rd straight in the rivalry game, the most rated college football game of all time. You got Jimmy McCarthy, Blake Horn, and yes, the place at the over at Michigan Stadium, and I'm sure we all know this, but which Ann and Steve, you might like this. That I'm sure we all know that is where Tom Brady played his college ball at, and yeah, he has had a pretty good career there, like he did in the NFL. But yeah, Michigan won their first.
Did he transfer to Michigan? Did he play his first years at a smaller college, or did he play for Michigan all 4 years?
He sat on the bench. He played. He was there all 4 years.
Okay, and
Yeah.
started his junior or senior year.
Might have been senior.
Oh
Yeah,
wow.
I think he didn't come onto people's radars till his last year there. He was definitely a late bloomer.
Exactly.
I heard he's going back.
He might.
Jackson, were you surprised that Michigan won that game?
No,
I guess they
no,
have the
I'm
home
not.
field advantage, right? Helps a lot.
Yeah, basically what they did is they dominated the line of scrimmage and executed more plays, and they were just a better team. And Ohio State did keep things a bit closer with Michael Penix Jr., but other than that, it was all Michigan. That's how the game. That's how it played out. But
I think that was the Big Ten championship.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right,
it seems
right.
like that was a playoff for the playoffs, right? Because it doesn't seem like Ohio State's going to make the playoffs now. It seems like Michigan will firmly be in that top 4, right? So that was kind of like its own version of a playoff game, that game. So that made the stakes even higher.
It told me that coaching's overrated.
Exactly. Yeah. Maybe you don't need a head coach.
Yeah, I mean,
Turns
he's
out
gone for 3 games and doesn't matter.
Harbaugh overrated.
What do they say up in New England? It's not about the X's and the O's. It's about the Jimmys and the Joes. Is that what they say?
Yeah,
Something
I
like
like
that.
it. I like it.
So Jackson, it seems like after last week's games in college, the playoff seems pretty set in stone unless anything crazy happens with Georgia, Michigan, Washington, and Florida State, right?
Yeah.
That's right.
So those teams will be
as of-
fighting for the
Yeah, so
championship.
as of right now, we got Georgia, Michigan, Washington, Florida State, Oregon, Ohio State, and Texas, Alabama at 8 as of right now. But we'll talk more about it in a second. But yes, Ryan Day is under a lot of pressure after losing his third straight to his arch rival against the school up north, they call it. And yeah, Michigan just turned out to be the better team, and now they're going to be facing against Iowa in the Big Ten championship, like you said. And Michigan just they were they were just a better team, like you guys said, and they'll be playing for the Big Ten championship next this upcoming Saturday, and a great a great win for them, and they were just for the Wolverines, and now they get to play for probably another shot at a college football playoff, and maybe even not even going to say that, but maybe even try to fight for a spot in the national championship, which is even crazy to say that, but
Whoa,
to get ahead of
whoa.
myself here. But yeah,
Don't get ahead of yourself.
no, I'm not.
Jackson.
I'm not. But
Wow.
that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. They have a shot, but it's not going to be easy. But I'm just going to leave it at that. So,
Jackson, I had 3.14 bites of pie this weekend at Thanksgiving, so I'm thinking numbers right now. And with that Alabama jersey you got on, when Alabama beats Georgia this weekend and they both have one loss, what are you going to do with that?
well, I'll get that in a second. But I actually want to. Yeah, but I actually Blake, I'll you hold that thought for a second, because I want to get to another game that was also a great great one, great one to watch. This one came down the wire. It was a finish, and it came down to the final play where Jalen Milroe made this game-winning drive on 4th and 31. How does it happen? I mean, Blake, you and I have played for the best moments in college football. It is in the Iron Bowl. It is the 10th year anniversary of the kick six, and where Auburn was going to win the football game. That's on that touchdown, on that game winning drive there, and but Blake, I mean, Auburn had some miscues in that game, and somehow they let this one slip away, and then Jalen Milroe in Alabama just kept getting drives alive. And I can tell you what happened, Blake, is so. I mean, the safeties were just trying to defend the pass to Milroe, but if that were to happen, he'll probably get a pass interference call, and that's probably what would happen. But I think they were trying to blitz the Milroe, but I think he was just too quick with his feet, and that's just how he kept the drive alive. But on 4th and 31, Blake, really, why does this happen? I mean, you and I are the college football expert fans ever since. I mean, you and I have attended South Carolina games, college football games during our time in college. But Blake, explain to me how this stuff can be written up. And you look at the analytics, they're 0-1. They still find a way to win. Blake, give me something. Just explain how and what really happened.
I'm going to tell you what, Jack. When I think of Mike's office in his studio at home, I think of a picture of a duck with a frog coming out of his mouth, choking the duck, saying, and at the bottom it says, never give up. And if there's ever been a clear message in this game, you never, ever, ever give up. You know, where Uncle Steve is, they used to have a saying, and it said, it ain't over till the lady sings, Jack, and I'll tell you what, man, never give up. I will say the Auburn coach and coaches, they've probably been sick all week since that happened. I mean, I really, my heart goes out for them. I did not think that was going to happen. Oh man, I don't even know what to say. But you know what? For everybody and all the future generations, never give it up, Jack. It ain't over until the final whistle blows.
Ain't over until the fat lady sings.
Come on.
There it is.
That was a crazy finish. Yeah, we were watching that live at home over the Thanksgiving, and yeah, it seems like that matchup in particular, like you mentioned the kick six in 2013, and it seems like that Alabama Auburn matchup for whatever reason just lends itself to these wild finishes. And so, hey, listen, I think Alabama gave themselves a chance. You know, if they can get a upset victory against Georgia in the SEC championship game, I don't know. I think it's hard for the playoff committee to overlook that, you know, beating the number, I don't think they're number one or however highly ranked they are, Georgia. But I mean, that would give Alabama a big case. I still think if the top four teams are undefeated, they'll still put them in. But I think Alabama have given themselves a big chance if they can get a victory in Atlanta on Saturday. So they've given themselves a good opportunity here, I think.
Is there a chance that all four teams that are undefeated could get beat this weekend? I know Alabama can beat Georgia. Oregon can go back and beat Washington, correct? And then who are the other? Michigan could get beat in their championship game. Is there a chance that all four could get beat?
Yeah, Florida State's playing Louisville.
But without their starting, they're on their backup quarterback,
yeah,
right?
Right. And that's probably the closest from a point spread. I think Florida State's 2.5 points favorite, which is probably the closest game. I don't see Iowa beating Michigan.
No.
Yeah, that one's probably not too much of a contest. It's interesting though with Oregon playing Washington, because Washington obviously beat them in the regular season. Mm-hmm. So if Oregon beats them in the playoff game, they each beat each other once. I don't know how the committee would weigh that up. Like, is it more important to beat a team in the championship game, or is it more important to beat them? Yeah, I mean, I don't know. That could definitely cause some issues. So maybe if Oregon beats Washington and then Alabama beats Georgia, that might give Alabama the edge to sneak in there in the fourth spot. We've seen it before where two SEC teams get in, so it's definitely possible.
And could that Oregon-Washington game also decide the Heisman Trophy?
Yeah, I can't remember a Heisman Trophy race that's been this up in the air. It seems like Caleb Williams was the front runner, and then USC kind of imploded, and his draft stock has fallen as well. I'm sure the Patriot fans are watching the college season for the draft picks right now. But,
that's all we have left.
Exactly. Yeah. So I don't know.
We're gonna trade the pick away anyway.
Yeah. Maybe
I'll take it.
It's going to Carolina.
There you go.
then Chicago will end up with it.
Yeah.
It might have looked like there was a better prospect, because I think Caleb Williams, people had a lot of hype around him, and then I don't know if it's fair to like blame him for USC kind of falling off a cliff. Maybe that's more of a team issue versus him as an individual, but you know, at least that's how they'll sell it to you after you draft him, kind of thing. But so
we're gonna package our pick, which will probably be number 3, with Bill Belichick, to just get rid of him.
There you go.
I want to see a coach trade. Wasn't there a coach trade a few years back? Was it? I can't remember what sport it was in.
It's happened before,
trade, wasn't there?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's. I think didn't like Bill Parcells get traded or something, or like way back in the day? I feel like
somewhere traded from the Giants to the Jets.
Is that did that happen?
Dallas or somewhere,
something like that. I think it's definitely happened, or at least you get like, I know people get like draft compensation for a coach that under contract that like retires or something like that, and then comes back. You get some sort of compensation. So yeah.
Well, Duke's got an opening for a football coach.
Yeah. If we're still on the college football topics, that's definitely a big.
I was actually going to jump in. They also lost their quarterback, Riley Leonard, who's entering the transfer portal, which I was telling our last guest, Mr. Kevin, was telling me about when I was emailing him, and that Duke is going to be in a rebuilding transition year for next season, and it's going to be just a total rebuild, and yeah, it's just going to be
So is their quarterback going to become an Aggie too?
Well, no. So the latest I've heard is that the Duke coach left to take the A&M job because I think he went there. So, that whatever. You can't fault him for that. But I think Riley Leonard, the Duke quarterback, is supposedly there's some rumors about him going to Notre Dame to take over after, because the Notre Dame quarterback is Hartman, who was a grad transfer from Wake Forest, who's like a bit older. So it looks like I saw that Leonard might be possibly filling it at Notre Dame. So it seems like Notre Dame are trying to get all of like the older like grad transfer quarterbacks to kind of like fill the gaps kind of thing. So keep an eye on that.
Yeah, so back to where I was, back to the college football games I want to get to before we move on to our next topic. Yeah, so Florida State found a way to win on the road at a hostile environment in the swamp with their backup quarterback, who as we know, was injured in their last game prior to that, and yeah, it was just a tough one to swallow. But at one point, Florida had the lead. The fans and the crowd were into it, except Florida State just never gave up and still found a way to win. And believe it or not, it happened to be one of those games that are not be going to a bowl game this year. But also, Blake, that one's going to be hard. That was going to be tough to watch, tough one to swallow. But South Carolina, our alum Gamecocks, they got beat badly by the Clemson Tigers. They too are not going to a bowl game, and they join Arkansas, Vanderbilt, and Florida, the following SC teams that are remaining not going to a bowl game this season. And Blake, your thoughts? And I mean, listen, Florida, they found a way to win our game against our Gamecocks at Williams-Brice. That's the only win they had. But other than that, everything just been. I mean, South Carolina, from what I'm hearing for that fan base, I am from what I'm hearing, is that I'm getting more patience and just too injuries to overcome. And that's just what happened. But at least on a positive note, that this would be Spencer Rattler's final game in his collegiate playing career. He will be eligible for the upcoming NFL draft, followed by Drake May and Caleb Williams out of USC, and it'll be interesting. But Blake, tough up and down season for our Gamecocks, but for any team that's not making a bowl game this year, that includes the SEC. Tough one to put in the words, Blake, but
well, I'll tell you what, Jack. If we're gonna stop calling these games, we're gonna start calling these social events. So you go to if you have Carolina in your name, it's an indicator for a social event. It's not really a game. You don't go for a win or a loss. We likely know it's gonna be a loss. We're gonna call these social events and engagement. So you just go, have a good time. The outcome of the game is predetermined, and we're gonna start calling these social events.
I think we'll do the same.
I understand that.
Yeah,
I understand that. We've adopted that in New England as well.
I've had 20 years of social events.
Oh, we know the pain.
Meanwhile, in other scores around college football, the Kentucky Wildcats win 38-31 in the Governor's Cup. If anyone's ever interested in that one. Also in the Apple Cup, the Washington Huskies win their arch rival, the Washington State Cougars, 24-21 at home at Alaska Airlines Field in Seattle, and that's just and then And then also LSU, team not eligible for the college football playoff, will probably be going to a bowl game. They won 42-30. And then that's really about all I got for yeah. So Tennessee won 48. And yeah, Blake, sorry, but Tennessee won 48-24 against your Commodores on the road at Neyland Stadium in Knoxville at good old Rocky Top. And that's what I had to bring up. And yeah, that one's gonna be
Well, heck, they scored 24 points. That's a win for Vanderbilt.
It's definitely a win based on.
It was the better team that day.
Yeah.
That's just what I have to bring up. But
it's a social event for them too.
That's true.
But and then finally Oklahoma State wins 40-34 at home. They will play Texas in the Big 12 championship, which should be very interesting. And we will move on now and talk about the previews of the conference championship games now before we move on to professional football and our next topic. But we will get to that later. But first, we are going to talk about some previews. And let's say I want to throw out a scenario here. So let's say, like you guys said, if Alabama beats Georgia and Florida State beats Louisville, Michigan most likely will beat Iowa, which we can all agree on. And then Oregon and Washington. So the winner of this one goes to college football playoff. The loser most likely to go to a bowl game. So that's how I see it, and that's how it's going to play out. And but also, Blake, I want to point out, sorry, Blake, but Gardner Webb lost to the Mercer University. So I just had to bring it up. So is not moving on from playoffs in the FCS level.
Jack, I don't want to give you too much insider information, but they lost, and well, I don't want to say that on this broadcast, but I will say that the coach did not ride back with the team, and he was on his way to ETSU that same day or the very next day. So the wheels were already in motion and things were pre-decided on what was going to happen after that. And I'll tell you what's getting really interesting is my students, some of them are being asked to come with them. But what gets really interesting with these transfers, and what I forgot about, is there's something called degree towards our progress towards degree. And so it's not always easy to transfer because you got to have a certain percentage of progress towards your academic degree in your field in order to be eligible to play. And so that's what we're dealing with my students. Are they going to be eligible if they do transfer? So it's a really interesting time when these coaches take off to their new destination right after that happens. That's probably way too much information, but it's really fascinating what's going on right now. So just a little insider information. But yes, Go Dogs did not win.
So Jack, do you think there's a good chance that if Oregon beats Washington, Alabama could overtake them if they beat Georgia, right? That's probably the only way that there's changing in the top 4, right?
Yeah, so...
Or do you think if Oregon beats Washington, then they would just get in regardless, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So...
It's arguments on both sides.
If Texas win, which means Texas has a great win over Alabama back in September, and that was where Alabama suffered its first loss of this season. And yeah, so if Oregon wins and Texas wins, then I think Alabama is going to be going to a bowl game. So that's how I view it for my standpoint of my college football committee. Which means
Uncle Mike, what do you think? Do you think could be some movement after this weekend's games?
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting. I was just thinking here a scenario if Oregon beats Washington, Louisville beats Florida State, and let's say there is a big upset in the Big Ten. Iowa would beat Michigan. Would Ohio State have a a say, not a say, but a legit
Presence.
a legit presence to say, hey, we've lost one game.
Yeah, I mean, I think the committee's got a lot to think about, you know. They gotta get in their safe room and really think this thing out,
Yeah.
because I mean, who knows what's gonna happen on Saturday, but
Mm-hmm.
if a couple of results go a couple of different ways, then yeah, there could be some serious decisions to be had by the committee.
Mhm.
So, you know, best of luck to them.
I mean, I think they would, if Alabama were to beat Georgia, then I think that what Alabama has going for them is a TV audience.
Yeah, I mean, they've gotten in, you know, as like you know, with a one loss, or like as like a 3 or a 4 seed, where like Georgia was the 1 seed kind of thing. So there is precedent for that. Multiple teams from the same conference happen in the SEC and the Big Ten. So they obviously factor in the conferences and strength of schedule and all that stuff. So yeah, it's not all cut and dry, you know. Florida State could find themselves looking out because of a strength of schedule situation. Given and similarly in the Pac-12, given the teams in the SEC and the Big Ten. So the committee definitely factors that in. Yeah, for sure.
That's why I think Louisville's loss last week to Kentucky, you know, gives them a lot of, you know, they got something to prove.
Definitely. Yeah, they've got motivation for sure. For sure, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, like I said, that if Florida State wins and that if Oregon wins and Texas wins and maybe Ohio State's got a shot for the committee to even get a spot in the playoff, but if those scenarios happen, then I think Georgia is probably going to be left out in the college football playoff, and they'll be probably playing in a bowl game instead.
Yeah, lots to be said.
Which means it's hard to free-peat in today's college football than it was back in the 1930s, 40s, or 40s. So,
well, Alabama beats Georgia and they're playing in Atlanta. I mean, that's a home game for the Dogs. And if Alabama were to win, they're basically going to win a championship on the road.
Yeah. And you look at the spread, they are 5.35 favorites. So for the Vegas, and I don't know if I would bet against that.
You think that Alabama's quarterbacks are going to be better than Beck?
I think he's got a shot. I mean, if he stays healthy and Alabama's defense makes big plays and shows up, then yeah, I think they got a chance to win this game.
Yeah, we'll see what happens on Saturday.
Yeah.
Ready to move on to a little pro football talk now?
Yep, we will get should be very, very interesting.
Do we have to?
Can we skip? Can we go right to basketball?
Well, I will. Yeah, we'll get. Don't worry, we'll still get to that. I'll just it'll be really quick, but yeah.
If we're going to talk Commanders, it's going to be really quick.
I know, but I know. Well, like it or not, we're still going to talk about it, guys. But just deal with it. But I was saying, the college football playoff committee will definitely have their eyes on the table, up for grabs on Sunday when the selection show begins. They're ready for everything, and no matter what happens, there's always going to be some chaos and some ranking changes going for what's ahead and for what lies ahead. And yeah, the drama builds, and yeah, there's going to be lots of intense action going on for the opening for the games this weekend. Should be very interesting to see how this plays out. All right, as you mentioned, we are moving on the pro football, which I want to get to right now. So I want to turn it over to the pro football experts, Ann and Steve, for this one. So,
yeah. No, not an expert.
Well, but you guys do follow pro football, and I do.
I'm a fan. I'm a fan of Taylor Swift. Yes.
Yeah. Well, yes.
Tay and I are watching.
I know.
Will she show up in Green Bay?
I heard today that moving truck was sighted at Travis's house, and she has moved in.
No way.
Wow.
Yes
That's
way.
crazy.
What does
Yes
his
way.
mother say?
Donna's thrilled.
So she's living in Kansas City now. We're supposed to believe
I
that.
know. People said, why? Well, because he's busy working.
She can't
And I
afford
guess
her own house.
well, she has multiple homes. She's looking for another one, I guess. I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
That's
She's
what I
trying to get
heard.
down.
All the way
She
from
left-
Rio.
She left her old boyfriend, I guess. Had to move out.
But I got to ask you before we move on to pro football. I mean, you guys went to a concert a while back before I joined you today on Good Guy Sports. But did you guys even go to a Taylor Swift concert, or you might have went to some other musicians before show instead?
I went to a Taylor Swift concert.
Yeah,
I took
Steve
Kaylee.
went.
Really?
Yeah. And then we were so close to the stage, Kaylee was giving Taylor Swift high fives. And all we had to do was stand in the hot sun for 4 hours before the show started. And that was fun. No, it was a great show. It was at Gillette Stadium many years ago, but it was her first concert, and it's always been tough to beat that.
Well, I bet you guys had a great time, most importantly, and I bet you got. And I couldn't agree with you more and all except that. So,
So speaking of concert, I have to share there was a commercial. AARP is providing people with pre-sales tickets to the Rolling Stones. I'm serious.
I believe it. I believe it. So did you get yours in?
No.
Yeah. For $800, you get to get
Oh, I
in
know.
pre-sale.
Yeah.
Their new album's terrible too.
Sorry,
Well,
Jack.
Well, speaking of concerts, did you guys happen to see the Ludacris concert at the Falcons game at halftime? Did you guys ever catch that? Blake?
Which
Yeah.
one? What, recently?
Yeah, this past Sunday, he made a
Oh, I
special
missed-
appearance with in the crowd in the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Blake,
Oh,
I'm
do you think
sure
about-
more people have showed up for that than the actual Falcons. They're not much to look at right now, but that's good
Guys,
to know.
how bad is the NFC South? I mean, you got teams and other conferences that are going to miss the playoffs.
5
And I
and
think-
6.
Yeah,
Number one.
under 500. Two teams tied under 500. I mean, it's so. If you were just an average team, you would be crushing in the NFC South right now.
Yeah, you know what's crazy, Blake, is I saw a stat that said the Panthers, despite being 1-10, they're actually not mathematically eliminated from making the playoffs, and they're 1-10.
No way.
Yeah, that's because
Wow.
the Falcons and Saints are tied at the top of the division at 5 and 6. So mathematically, the
They ran the
Panthers
tables.
can still make the playoffs at 1-10 to show you how poor
That's
that division
crazy.
is this year.
I hope
Yeah.
they do. I hope they make it.
I mean, might as well,
Okay,
right? Like,
Chicago doesn't, but yeah.
I mean, you can flip a coin and any of those teams can make the playoffs in the NFC South. Yeah.
Well, think
it's-
about how quickly, a division's fortunes can change. Look at the AFC East, right? That
Yeah.
used to be one of the strongest, and look what happened. It's almost flipped upside down. The
Yeah,
Patriots at the
Dolphins own
bottom,
it
they
now,
were at
yeah.
the top for how many years? Even Buffalo's, 500 team right now.
Mhm.
And the Jets, forget it. But you've got Miami. That's it.
Yeah, but Aaron Rodgers is back.
yeah.
He's back practicing.
Practicing.
They got 21 days until he shows
That's
up against the
crazy.
Commanders.
I don't know if I believe that. I feel
Yeah,
like that's
I mean-
they're just trying to fool the other teams into thinking he's going to play. I don't know about that.
Well, the
Yeah.
NFL needs some excitement.
Yeah.
They're
That's
looking for
exactly
anything.
what they need. They need to get
Yeah.
more rehab.
Taylor Swift can't handle the whole show.
No.
Somebody else has got to
No.
step up.
Yeah.
All
I'm
right.
surprised she's not doing the halftime show at the Super Bowl this year.
Did you see Dolly Parton?
Yeah, oh yeah. How could you
Loved
not?
her.
I confused her with a Dallas Cowboys cheerleader for a while.
Yeah, she looked better than some of them.
Yeah, she was great.
God bless Dolly. I love her.
All right. So real quick before all right, back to the recap with the NFL scores. I know you guys hate to see this, but Mr. Rawls, but yeah, the Patriots did lose the number game on the road to the Giants. I'm sure we all know about that, but 10-7. But you look at the records and one of the teams. The Steelers are 7-4. The Patriots are 2-9. Two teams going opposite directions. Steelers are right there with the Ravens. They're finding ways to win. They believe in Kenny Pickett, and you have the Patriots who have used two quarterbacks in Bailey Zappi and Mac Jones. It's just yeah, they something tells me they need to find the next Tom Brady, and they're not playing Bill Belichick in a big brand way. I mean, they got to go back to those days, but they got to do something about it to address any offseason for the draft, or do something about it.
We need so much. It's not, I mean, the quarterback's the most important position, and our coach doesn't believe that. So, but we need so many things on our team. So we'll see. It's going to be years, I think, but you never know.
And also happening in the NFL, the Panthers have fired Frank Reich as a head coach. So, Mike, Limburger, I want to get your thoughts and your reaction to this. They fired a head coach, and let me give my take before you jump in here. I think the Panthers did not have the right fit for this coach. They got to find someone who believes in this team and turn this thing around and build a winning formula and build the culture in the right way. Because after hearing that he got let go from the team, that got me thinking: will Ron Rivera be next as fired as Commanders head coach? That's where I get my question mark here. And Uncle Mike just probably sitting there and going, I don't know if that's going to happen, but you never know. It could happen. But Blake Wamberger, the Panthers have fired Frank Reich and David Tepper, who in my opinion, I feel like does stuff like Dan Snyder does. I mean,
Jack, you hit the nail on the head. Tepper is going to go down in history. He's fired more head coaches in shorter amount of times than anybody else. I think Uncle Mike agrees that the Redskins or the Washington Commanders will likely hire whoever Carolina Panthers fire, so they'll be in a good spot. They'll hire Mike. They'll fire their current coach and hire the coach that we fired. But Jack, it's even crazier than that. From the local reports, he didn't only fire the head coach; he fired several position coaches as well. So I believe that the special teams coach is not only the head current coach, but also is kind of running practices for every position. So I don't know. Last I heard, they were just shooting basketball this week in practice, and I'll tell you what. Good luck on Sunday. I mean, it's just a dumpster fire down here.
They beat the Hornets though, didn't they?
That's a good point. That's true. Maybe we're going to turn this show in. We represent cities with good hockey teams, right? Maybe we can focus on hockey for a little while. We got the Boston Bruins. I think the Carolina Hurricanes, and then Mike's got
all Caps.
The Caps. Yeah, great hockey teams in our cities. Maybe that's what we need to focus on.
We'll get into that in a second, but tonight, if you guys have any interest, the Seahawks on the road taking on the Cowboys.
It's a good game tonight, actually. Yeah.
Against Smith. The Seahawks coming off their loss last week on Thanksgiving against the 49ers against Brock.
Yeah, they looked really poor in that game.
And Deebo Samuel and George Kittle and those big fellows there.
McCaffrey.
Oh yeah, him too. Yep, Christian McCaffrey. Yep, that's right. They find ways to win. Now they have a tough test ahead. They have to go on the road at a hostile environment in South Philly against the Eagles, a place in the rematch of the NFC Championship game where it's going to feel like a playoff game, like it always is at that place. It's going to be a hard act, but the Eagles just somehow found a way to win last week against their professional Jalen quarterback, the game-winning drive against Buffalo, and that tells you the Eagles tried at halftime and still found a way to win. It just tells you how they how they can turn things around quickly, and believe and the belief of how Nick Sirianni of how this team can really really take your team to the next level, and they believe they can won't get ahead of myself, but they are at the top of the NFC right now, followed by the Cowboys, Lions, and 49ers, and that just tells me that they're probably going to be the number one seed in the NFC if they stay healthy and for remaining the season. And
that was a fun game to watch, the Eagles.
I bet, absolutely.
Yeah.
60-yard
Jackson,
field goal in the rain.
Yeah,
that was huge. That was huge.
it was.
If you want to watch something interesting on the Eagles, Ann and I watched the Jason Kelsey special. I think it was on Netflix or Amazon Prime. It was a really good behind the scenes of last season and all, in the Super Bowl against his brother, and then the lead into this season, the decision whether he was going to play or not.
Yeah.
Really, really interesting show. We enjoyed it.
He got called for
Twice.
2 false starts, backed him up, and they still made the 60-yard field goal.
I know. But he's a really interesting character.
Speaking of football documentaries, I know that Blake, you and I know that Blake Lumberg has touched on it a while back, a few months ago back about, of course, we know about Hard Knocks and Quarterback on Netflix, but you've also told me on the college level there is a Netflix show series called Swamp Kings about the legendary quarterback of Tim Tebow. So you should share the audience about what this what to expect and what this documentary is really about for the legendary greatest college quarterback of all time.
I mean, I don't want to spoil it for everybody, but Jack, it's got some fire in it, and I think the fire in the belly of Tim Tebow could benefit the Commanders, the Panthers, and the Patriots right now. And I think all three of us might be willing to give Tim Tebow a little tryout. As long as he would run it on 4th and 1, I'd give him a tryout right now.
Bring him on.
I think he was on your guys' practice squad at one point. I feel like in the past.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
Yeah. I think he was a Patriot or not a full Patriot, but yeah.
They did bring him in.
Belichick likes to bring in.
He got drafted by Josh McDaniels, so that was part of it, right?
There you go. To bring it back to the Eagles, though, they're coming off a big win, obviously in overtime against Buffalo. Really exciting win, and they're actually underdogs at home against the 49ers. 49ers are favored by a field goal. So that's interesting. I don't know how everybody feels about that, but I wouldn't bet against the Eagles at home. So that's kind of an interesting line there, right?
Yeah. There must be money that's making that one go that way.
Maybe weather. I don't know. I have to look at the weather too.
It's an interesting line. It's definitely going to give the Eagles extra motivation knowing they're underdogs at home.
They say we may get some rain in DC a little bit on Sunday, so I don't know if Philly may get some
no snow,
inclement weather. No.
I don't know.
They like the rain, those Eagles.
Yeah, I mean, you would have think if there's bad weather, that would favor the Eagles there. So that's an interesting line.
Rain is good for a dirty bird.
Yeah.
So I've heard. So yeah. Anyway, I'm taking the Eagles in that one. I
backing up the truck, Blake.
Well, yeah. I mean, listen, we're not a gambling show or anything, but let's just say I like the Eagles
just for entertainment.
I like the Eagles +3. You know what I mean?
I do.
We're here for. Yeah. So you mentioned the weather going to be nasty, necky out on Sunday, Mike. The Commanders are going to be playing on wet, sloppy, soggy mud playing field at home against the high-flying Dolphins. Which they remind me of Tyreek Hill and Robbie Mostert and those guys. They of how they move the ball.
Waddler.
Waddle, those guys. If you ever watch them in film or in practice, they are like a Lamborghini going driving down the road, and that's what they're like they're
What do you know about Lamborghinis,
like
Jack?
a Lamborghini. Yeah, they're like a yeah.
I didn't
they're
realize you had
like
Lamborghini
yeah, they're
experience.
fast like a Ferrari or a Porsche or a sports car or whatever type. That's what they remind me of, and that's what the commanders are going to have to deal with the fast speed of Tyreek Hill and those fast convertible sports cars, and those commanders are going to have
but
and give them their best shot at it.
I think
but those
that's
cars
why,
don't do good in the mud.
Yeah, I think that's why Ann took the Dolphins defense this week in her fantasy team.
I like that. Yeah, that's a good pick, and I like that.
Yeah.
Well, I just hope Sam Howell has a good day.
I also saw that Ann picked up Zach Ertz today because he's getting released.
Wow.
By the Cardinals.
Those are the acquisitions you need that are going to vault you into the playoffs, you think?
Well, after the
I think it's too late for that. But
after the the thumping you gave her last week, Blake, she needed a running back, I think, to score 3 points, and he scored 1, and you won.
Oh, I know. It was so close.
Hey, nothing personal. Just business,
Yeah.
I know.
Hey, can we talk a little bit about the in-season tournament for the NBA?
Yes, that's where I was actually going to get into. Like, have you been keeping up with it, or do you ever follow it? Or my theory, introduction to all this is that it actually is that the tournament and the bracket field looks different compared to the old-fashioned like regular season way compared than what you're used to. I feel like doing it in a different changing up a bit for how the NBA is doing with their seating and their and changing up the courts and the different playoff seedings and field and something like that, which I feel like is something we're not used to, but has a different kind of feel to it with the NBA season tournament. I know you follow basketball, but have you ever followed or keep it up with that much? Because I feel like it's just has a different feel than what you're used to.
Yeah, we have actually. Tuesday night, the Celtics were playing. Oh gosh, I can't remember the team they were playing.
It was just was it last night or was the night before?
Tuesday night. They had to win by 23 or 24 points.
So Orlando?
No.
No, the Wizards lost to Orlando.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember who they were.
Chicago.
But anyway,
Chicago.
It got ugly. The coach on the other side. Oh, it's against the Bulls.
Yeah.
The coach for the Bulls, met Mazzullo, the Celtics coach at half court. He's like, "What are you doing? Like, why do you have your starters in?" And he had to explain it to him. We have to win by a certain amount. The players are into it. And actually, it was for a Tuesday night game, an NBA game on Tuesday night in November. I was surprised. We were interested. I was watching it. I wanted to see how it worked, and everybody got into it up here. And
the players
we're talking about how some of the players, not the starters, but the guys coming off the bench, if they win this tournament, $500,000 a piece, that's a lot of money for these guys. And they want to do it. If there's a trophy, it kind of goes back to the days when, Michael Jordan was playing or Larry Bird. If there was a trophy to be had, they wanted bragging rights. And so they're chasing it. I think it's cool.
And the NBA players, it's going to be in Vegas.
Yeah.
And it's a party, and the NBA players love to party.
Yeah,
so that, they want to be there.
All expense paid
guys
vacation.
want to be there and be seen with everybody else. And so I think it helps to not make the season more exciting, not only for the spectators, but for the players. It's a long season for them. And
good competition. I think it's great because they're playing, 48 minutes instead of, beginning of the fourth quarter, you sit your starters and you just let the scrubs come out. These guys make a lot of money and they should play 48 minutes. I love it.
Just so they don't get hurt.
I think it's a great marketing ploy as well. The NBA, I think, did a really good job. It's helping their ratings a lot, I think, this time of year. because you're competing against the NFL or even NHL. It's tough.
Yeah, definitely. That's what I was gonna say, is that particularly this early part of the start of the NBA season in the fall, where, like you said, they're competing against the NFL. It kind of feels like the games don't really matter that much, right? So I think
Exactly.
adding this extra incentive, I'm surprised it took them this long to kind of add that extra piece into. I think it makes a lot of sense, kind of like modeled after like some of the cup competitions and like European soccer and stuff like that. It's
Exactly.
for the more knockout based stuff. So yeah, definitely adds an extra element of jeopardy. And like you said, in that Boston game, that was a really funny clip, actually, because they were intentionally fouling Andre Drummond, who's a poor free throw shooter, and Billy Donovan, the Bulls coach, was going like what are you guys like? Why are you intentionally fouling in November? But yeah, like you said, having that extra incentive to win by a certain amount adds jeopardy. So yeah, I thought it's been a great addition so far as well.
Yeah, yeah. I would have tuned out if it hadn't been for the tournament that night, you know.
Yeah, definitely. And it gives Uncle Mike's Wizards an extra chance to win a competition. Not that they have much of a chance in the in-season tournament, but
they might get half a banner.
There you go. It's it's something.
We can't always play the Pistons.
There you go. So yeah,
have one of the worst records in the league this season. So it's not just the Wizards who have a losing record in season. Pistons are in that same category too. So you're not alone with that one.
Jackson, the Pistons have lost 15 games in a row, and I saw a stat about them, like they haven't won a game or something like that, like compared to the Detroit Lions or something. Like if you compare like the wins for the Lions and the Pistons, it's like it's not ideal situation there for them.
We only lost 9 in a row.
You're only, I mean, you got one more win than the Pistons, Uncle Mike.
Yeah,
so
I know.
You got a feather in your cap there, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, no, just on the.
I got just a general question. I don't know why I just thought of this, but maybe it's because we've got multiple generations represented here. But I don't know about you, Uncle Mike. When I was, younger, Jackson's age, maybe a little younger even, Blake, I used to subscribe to things like the Sporting News or Sports Illustrated, and we always got like a hard copy magazine, sports-related magazine, every week. And we'd get, we'd read the sporting, the sports page in the newspaper. Nowadays, I'm guessing you guys haven't looked at a Sports Illustrated or a Sporting News maybe in 10 years, but you still keep up on the internet or something, right? Do you subscribe to any
most of the Sporting News, you're right, is mostly online. I think we like to appreciate the old school stuff. I believe we still get some Sports Illustrated every now and then. I think Jackson's got a couple that I've taken as well, but it's mostly just for like the novelty of like having
the article, the front page or whatever. Yeah.
So
So speaking of Sports Illustrated, do you know who was the sports person of the year
this year?
Just came out today.
Oh, today it was
Taylor Swift.
No.
Was it Jokic?
Nope.
The guy.
Don't Buffalo me.
No.
Yeah.
You're not talking
Prime.
It was Deion Sanders?
Deion Sanders.
No
What?
way.
No
way.
At 4 and 8. At 4 and 8.
No way.
They should have waited to see how the season would go.
Sports Illustrated named him the sports person of the year.
Unreal.
Huh.
I mean, I guess you can argue he's had like a big cultural impact and stuff on the sports world.
I think that's probably why.
I mean, look at his record. I don't know if the sports person of the year can have that poor of a record.
They've lost the last 4 games. Anyway,
One's got a fractured back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure when they when they decided to do that in like September, that was a much better
There you go.
decision than it is
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it had to go to press, you know. Sorry, we can't hold
Yeah,
off. We
there
got a
you go.
deadline.
That's
October
newspaper
1st.
printing. Yeah, we gotta run it. That's
Exactly.
funny.
Yeah. So back to where I want to leave off it before we get ourselves out of here and call it a night. But I also want to mention in the NBA season tournament, that the Hornets are actually 5-11 and 2-5 on the road. So they're taking on the Brooklyn Nets at the Barclays Center tonight, actually, at 7:30. So if you're ever interested, one of you will probably not get the game because you're probably not in the viewing area, but I'm assuming BL will, because he's in that part of the country where he will get it because he's in that region. So
Jackson, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think Hornets Nets is going to make my viewing schedule. I think I'd rather watch the NFL game, but I appreciate the thought.
But don't you think that, you think about it? I mean, Blake Lumberger works at Gardner-Webb University, and the area that he works at is surrounded by Appalachian Mountains, halfway in between near the Carolinas, which means it connects all the way from there to New England, up to New Hampshire, where Ann Steve lives. So I think it
Into
does.
Maine?
Yes, that's right, New England. That's right, and that just tells you it just has a connection, and it's just part of the Appalachian Trail that just extends that far. And I think that's all, and I think that's where it all gets started. On a geographic standpoint, if you're ever in the history as a school subject.
Jackson, I'm glad you mentioned that, and that's why I asked Mike about his plant-based food recipe, because I just watched the special on the guy who set the record for the fastest time down the Appalachian Trail, and he gave the credit to switching over to a plant-based diet. So great connection, Jackson. I appreciate that. Very interesting stuff. It's on Netflix. Fascinating.
I've walked the width of the Appalachian Trail.
The West.
All right, Jack, anything else before we want to wrap things up today?
Yeah, so
I think we're out of time.
Yeah, so real quick prediction for tonight. The Cowboys at home against the Seahawks. I'm taking Dak Prescott and the Seahawks and CeeDee Lamb, and they are just they just listen, they just got too much. They got too much offensive firepower on both sides. They have too many weapons, and too many they're hard to stop to deal with. They got too many playmakers. They're just hard to beat. I'm taking Dallas tonight.
Yeah, I agree with that pick, Jack.
Well, Jack, I mean, that's a pretty safe bet. They're favored by 9.5.
Not even close.
I'm taking the points. Yeah.
You taking them with the points, Jack, or you taking them straight up?
I'm taking the points.
Whoa.
Yeah,
I think
9.5.
Seattle. I think Seattle will cover. I think Dallas wins. I think Seattle covers that 9.5.
Big D by 2 touchdowns.
Wow.
Yeah, Lemberger.
I'm gonna take the points. I'm gonna take the points.
And
Fair enough.
Blake B. Lemberger
he's taking the points.
takes the point.
Yeah.
Blake Lemberger takes the points.
What are you doing, Ann?
I'll do the same.
Okay.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. Should be a fun matchup though. Either way, right, Jack?
Yeah, that's right. Either way, going to be should be a good game. Either way, depending on how it finishes, it's always going to turn out whoever comes up top. That's just how it is, and I'm going to leave it at that. Steve, hope you guys have a great weekend. And it was so great for you to meet my co-host BL Weinberger for the first time. Couldn't thank you enough, and
Come back again, Jack. I loved it. Thanks for
Absolutely.
having me.
Absolutely. Anytime. BL Lumberger, it was so great for you to meet Ann as Steve's wife as a guest. Hope you get to hope you guys get along very often. I mean, it would be a great for the show ratings and for our Guy Sports podcast. But
Same, Jack. And cool story. I've actually got an Aunt Ann in Florida, so it's very normal for me.
Oh,
Yeah, so
wonderful.
it makes sense for me.
Cool.
Jackson's Aunt Ann wishes she was in Florida right now.
Yeah,
getting cold
really.
up here.
I'll join her.
Don't
It's
we
cold
all?
down here too.
Don't we all? Thanks for having us all, Jackson. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jackson. And
Right.
Steve,
Yep,
good to
thank-
see
yep.
you.
You guys have a good week.
Everybody be
you
well.
guys have
All
Have a
righty.
great week.
have a
Go
have a great
Dallas.
week and weekend, and we will talk to you next week on Good Guy Sports. Steve, Ann, Wake, Mike Roby, thanks for coming on and for joining me. I'm Jackson Gerke, Good Guy Sports, signing off.
Night.
Thanks, everyone.
So long.
Have a good night.